What's going on, my eaters? It's your boy, Chef Drew, AKA Chef, AKA Big Drew, AKA y'all, we cooking potatoes today. But before we get into the potatoes, I'm gonna need you to do me a favor. Please, please, please make sure you go ahead, like, subscribe, do all the things that you need to do to help us keep bringing you this great content. Let's go. So listen, y'all, as I was trying to figure out what to do for y'all today, it's been a minute since we cooked anything. And so I'm like, I gotta cook for y'all, my eaters, my people, my crew, my family. I gotta cook for y'all. And I'm like, yo, what am I gonna cook? Well, at the time we're filming this video, and hopefully about when it gets uploaded, it's around the holidays. And so I was thinking about, yo, what can I show my eaters to make for the holidays? And I thought about an article I just wrote for my food column at thecitizen.com called The Eating Chambers. But for me, around the holidays, I felt like this dish would be perfect. However, you don't hear about it enough. Around the holidays, when you think about potatoes, you hear about everything sweet potato, all the yams and the casseroles of marshmallows and nuts. And don't forget the sweet potato pies. When you hear about potatoes, don't forget them whipped ones, them mashed potatoes. You hear about a lot of those. Some people like them smooth. Some people like them, like me, a little bit chunky. Here in the South where I live at, I've even come across what they call stewed potatoes. That's like a whole thing between, it's a mix between a mashed potato and it's stewed potatoes, y'all. Think potato soup, but not. And one of my favorite dishes, one of the simplest dishes out there that I feel like does not get enough love on people's tables, especially the holiday table, is roasted potatoes. What? Roasted potatoes? Y'all, listen, to me, why I love a roasted potato? I love a roasted potato because I feel like when done right with a roasted potato, it's like a beautiful cross between the most perfect fried potato, French fry, hash brown, the most perfect fried potato, and, you know, a mashed potato or a steamed potato. You bring the soft of the mash with the crispy of the fry, put them together, season them up, and you got awesome, awesome roasted potatoes. Listen, today we're gonna roast some red potatoes, some new potatoes, but y'all, I done roasted all the potatoes. You feel me? The yellow ones, the Yukon ones, the Irish ones, the Idahos, you name it, the russets. I've roasted all the potatoes, purple potatoes. Today we're gonna roast some red ones. They're some of my favorite. I like them because of their color. I also feel like they cook a little faster than some of the others. So, and they're just good, man. So we're gonna roast some red potatoes here. I'm not gonna be with y'all too long this week, but by the time we get done with this thing, y'all gonna know how to roast some potatoes my way. If you have any thoughts, concerns, questions about it, make sure right after you subscribe, you go to the comments and write something down in there and we'll get back to you for sure. But roasted potatoes, where we're gonna start, like I said, I got these red potatoes here. We're gonna cut these potatoes into like nice chunks. Y'all listen, everything I'm gonna show you today, let it be a blueprint. If you like your potatoes a little bit bigger, cut them a little bit bigger. If you like them a little bit smaller, cut them a little bit smaller. I have found to achieve the texture and all the things that I want. I don't wanna really have to cut my potatoes. I got a big mouth though. I like to cut them in like nice 1 inch, 1.5 inch chunks. So whatever that looks like, you just do that. There's no real rhyme or reason. What you want to also make sure is that when you're cutting your potatoes, what you do want to make sure about is that they're consistently cut. You want all your potatoes to be as close to the same size as possible. Some will be a little bit bigger, some will be a little bit smaller, but do your best to make sure they're roughly the same size so that they'll all cook evenly. I understand potatoes or root vegetables, they don't always grow as uniform as you would like. So you just make the best of what you got. If it's a smaller potato, this is what I always tell people too. If it's a smaller potato, y'all, and you just gotta cut it in half, just do that. Don't feel like you have to cut the potato up. The most important thing is that they uniformly cook. So do what you gotta do to make sure that happens. See, that's a smaller potato to me. I'm not gonna cut that again. So the potatoes are cut, y'all. You know, these might have to be cut up a little bit on the plate, but I prefer my potatoes, you know, rough chopped or rustically chopped larger. I just think for the end product, presentation, all the things, it just works better. So we got the potatoes all chopped up. Like I said, y'all, this is quick, this is easy. What you want to do, for the purposes of this video today, I'm going to use what I have around. I'm going to use some canola oil. You can use beef tallow. I love putting some beef tallow on some potatoes. You can use pork fat if you want. You can use olive oil if you want. Those are the oils I typically go to when I'm roasting potatoes. I think they handle the heat really well, and they also impart a lot of flavor. Olive oil does not handle heat too well, so what I suggest to people is roast the potatoes in an oil or neutral oil like vegetable oil, canola oil, or like your beef tallow or what. Like I said, roast them in that, and then when they're done, finish it with the olive oil and season them up at the end. So anyway, for our purposes, we're going to use a little bit of canola oil. You want just enough oil to coat the potatoes. I got a little bit of granulated garlic. You can use fresh ingredients as well, y'all. Onions, garlic, roasted garlic. A little bit of coarse ground black pepper. I like mine a little coarser. One, because that's what we use in our rub, and two, I like black pepper, and so I feel like with the coarse ground, you can taste it more. And then a little bit of kosher salt. We season the potatoes with that. Put on a glove or use your hands, do whatever you want to do. We're going to give it a mix. Woo. Make sure you get the potatoes nice and coated with all the seasoning, but also all the oil. You want them to be coated in the oil because that's what's going to help cook and help give your potatoes color when you put them in the oven. So the potatoes are all cut up, seasoned up right now, first seasoning at least. What we're going to do, let me throw this away. Now I'm going to show you guys, to me, one of the most important parts of this process. I have my oven set at 400 degrees. You want to set your oven higher when you want to roast something. So I have the oven set at 400 degrees. The fan is on high. Mine is a convection oven. If it is not a convection, that's fine. Typically, that just means you got to cook a little bit longer, y'all. So I have my oven set. It's been preheating. What I'm going to do now is, like I said, I think the most important part, I'm going to take the pan that I'm going to cook these potatoes out of the oven. As I said, y'all, I'm removing this pan from the oven. So the reason I put my pan, right now I have a hotel pan. If I was doing this at home, I like to roast my potatoes in a cast iron skillet. Right now I have a metal hotel pan. Whatever you use, I like to set it in the oven when I turn the oven on and let it preheat and get hot as well, because I believe that helps with the cooking, and it also helps put some crispiness on your potatoes. So we have the pan, just came out the oven. We're gonna pour a little bit of oil or your fat in there just to coat it a little bit. We don't want nothing sticking. I'm gonna grab a little piece of paper towel. We're gonna wipe that down. Remember, it's hot now, y'all, so don't burn yourself now. If you also have some pan spray, that'll work. But like I said, I'm just coating the bottom, y'all, so these potatoes don't stick. Once I've done that, we're gonna dump the potatoes in the pan, spread them out evenly, and then we're gonna put these things in the oven and let them do what they do. All right, so y'all, we put them in the oven. Like I said, the oven's set at 400 degrees. We're gonna cook these to 30 to 45 minutes. You know they're ready when you can stick a fork through them. I don't want the fork to go right through them, but I also don't want there to be too much resistance. Nice fork tender, you know they're done, typically 30 to 45 minutes, or they're very forgiving. If you like yours a little bit darker or crispier, you can just watch it at that point until you get to the color you want. While the potatoes are in the oven, we're gonna get ready for when they come out of the oven. So I'm gonna get, I have a lime here, one lime. I'm gonna get some cilantro. Okay, y'all, I told you, I'm not gonna be before you long today. We're almost done already. So we have some, like I said, ooh, runaway lime. We got a lime for you, and we have some fresh cilantro. Listen, one of the things I think people do not understand is the power of fresh herbs in their food, in their vegetables, especially on their potatoes. Everyone knows about, you know, rosemary or dill for potatoes, but let me tell y'all something. Cilantro is a thing with your potatoes. I'm just saying, ask the Peruvians. They kind of invented potatoes. In any case, so we got some cilantro here. I like to taste my cilantro. I like the color of it for the dish. So we're just gonna cut off some. We're gonna leave it rough. You know, just run the knife through it a little bit. Help kind of release some of those flavors. So we have the cilantro cut up. We're also going to cut our lime in half. So what I'm going to do now, through the power of TV, y'all, or YouTube, we actually have some potatoes ready here. Like I said, I like to roast mine in the cast iron skillet, so here we go. This is one of my favorite parts of making these potatoes. When you take them out and you give them that turn and you see all the texture and what have you. That just looks great. But y'all, we're gonna stick them in the bowl. So we have our potatoes now in this bowl. You want to do this quick so that your potatoes don't get cold, y'all. Did y'all know citrus goes great on potatoes? So a little bit of fresh lime. The cilantro that we cut up. I don't have that much potatoes, y'all, so I'm not gonna do too much cilantro. Get this out of here. I'm gonna hit this with a little bit more oil. This is when you would put your olive oil in, or whatever oil you wanna finish it with. Y'all, this smells so great. The heat from the potatoes is lightly cooking the cilantro. The oils in it starting to release. A little bit of salt and pepper to taste. Now, y'all, I've been doing this long enough. I know these potatoes are ready, but before you would season these potatoes, when you take them out the oven, you would check them with your fork just to make sure they were ready. So we have a little bit of salt. A little bit of cracked pepper. And y'all, you can't have too much garlic on the potato. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but you can't have too much. You can also, like I said, at this point, use roasted garlic. You could use minced garlic, chopped garlic, whatever you want. And then, y'all, we're gonna give this a toss. Boy, yo, it looks so good. We're gonna give it a toss. Just so you can see how they look on the plate. Whew, they're hot, baby. Y'all, there you go. Those are Chef Drew's roasted red potatoes. Like I said, y'all, you can make these potatoes however you want. Let what I showed you today be a foundation, and then you play with it and create it and make it your own. I beg you and beseech you, y'all, this holiday season, switch up the potato game for your house and for your family and your friends. If you're used to the mashed potato party and you're used to just a sweet potato party, I'm not even saying don't have those on the table. I'm one for options, y'all. But I promise you, roast you some potatoes, put them on the table, and I bet you they go fast. The great thing about these roasted potatoes, man, they can go with anything. You could eat them with something, and big boy Chef Drew has been known to eat them all by themselves. And you can do the same. Y'all, thank you so much. I hope your holidays are great. Remember, we're always here to educate you, excite you, empower you into the life and the kitchens and the businesses you want for yourself. And I hope we were able to do that with this recipe this week. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things that you need to do to help us continue to keep bringing you this content. Also, check out our homeboys, Chuck and John, on Last Night's Coffee. Awesome, awesome podcast. Great guys, great content. Until next time, y'all, we are gone.